Good afternoon and welcome to the Michael Gaskin Let's Talk Show. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll be honest with you, I'm very glad to be with you today. And also I have a special guest. I call him a friend, and been a friend for quite a while. And today he's going to talk to us about some very important stuff for Greenwood County. His name is Bill Kimler. He's the Greenwood County Democratic Chairman or President?
Chairman.
Chairman.
Yes,
Chairman. I'm going to call him the President. Kind of
Not
like
yet.
that.
Not yet.
And Bill is here today. Bill, welcome.
Thank you very much, Michael.
I tell you, I can honestly say, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot for just one moment, Greenwood County Democratic Party, I think, would not have been at its present position right now with the pandemic. The skill sets that you have were perfect for the time that we are enduring right now. I mean, your technology, your strategic planning, your vision, I mean, it is just perfect in a very unfortunate time. So I would like to say, I know you like to be a little modest about things sometimes. I'd like to say thank you for your leadership.
Hey, thank you, Michael. It is certainly a very unfortunate time, and I really wish things had been different. You're right, my background is in technology and dealing with the internet and using every skill that I have at my disposal and gaining a few and sharing that knowledge and helping get the word out when we can't get the feed out. But you know what? The tragedy is that there's a lot of people that aren't connected on technology. There's a lot of people who aren't on the internet. There's a lot of people who, still get their mail the old way and don't stick an E in front of their mail. And they're just tough to reach during this time. And even making phone calls, people don't get bothered by the phone too much. And it's tough to reach them. And we've got some ideas for that I'm going to share with you later this afternoon, how to do so in a safe way.
Ah, great. So, Bill, let's talk. The party chair of Greenwood County, what exactly do the party chair, what is the duties and responsibilities of a party chair?
Well, first and foremost, the reason why our party exists is to help our candidates. Number one, if we're doing nothing else during the day, if we're not helping out the Floyd Nicholsons and Ann Parks and Denise Waldrops of the world out there, Jamie Harrison, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, if we're not standing firm behind them, giving them every advantage that we can offer, then we're not doing our job. That's number one. Everything else is fun and socializing and information sharing, but at the end of the day, it's got to be to help our candidates who support our vision for what makes our country great and how it should be.
Well put, great. So you have been in your current role for how long?
Since April.
Since April. And I will say, Bill, and I'm not just saying this because you're sitting next to me, that if I had to grade you, I'd give you A+.
Oh, my.
So
well, you know what?
You can't go nowhere but down.
The grade is what happens on November 3rd. That's the true grade right there.
Right.
Everything else is not as relevant.
Well, but the thing of it is, if you do your job well, the chances of people getting out to vote, the chances of people understanding who candidates are, people getting excited and motivated and understanding what the Democratic Party wants to do for them,
Hey.
I think that is paramount as well.
Let me share with you. I'm a numbers guy.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this, but I went to college. You know what my degree was? Mathematics.
Okay.
I'm a math guy. I'm a numbers guy. I sit there. My email address is dreaming of data.
Okay.
Right?
So I'm
going to share with you a couple numbers here. Did you know that of all the Americans who are eligible to vote, 1 out of 3 are not even registered? 1 out of 3. And of those who are registered to vote and could participate, another 1 out of 3 choose not to do so. So you add that up, you take those numbers together, that means that just about half of Americans who could vote don't. So when people tell me, hey man, my vote doesn't count, there's more of them than there are of us, why even bother? I tell you right out of the gate, your vote counts for 2 people. And you bring some more of your friends, you bring more of your family with you, those votes count even more.
Right.
So I reject outright that mentality that one's vote does not count. I'll share with you a couple other numbers. Do you know the mayor of the city of Abbeville?
Right.
His name is Santana Delano Freeman.
Right.
Got a chance to meet him and hear him back in 2016 when he was elected.
Right.
He was elected first African American mayor of the city of Abbeville.
Mm-hmm.
He won by 6 votes.
Right.
6 people showed up and helped tip the scale in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
The next year, 2017, in Virginia, one of the state house representatives, the name had to be pulled out of a bowl to determine who would win.
Right.
You know why? Over 23,000 votes cast, dead even, exact tie. Recount after recount showed a dead tie.
Mm-hmm.
One more person coming out to vote would have tipped the scale in favor of a candidate then. So, yeah, your vote counts.
Right. And speaking of which, during the primary, the voters' turnout was pretty significant for the Democrats as well, right?
I would say during the presidential primary, absolutely, because
Right,
there's
right.
a lot of energy there
Right.
with Bernie and Biden and Pete Buttigieg and
Right.
a lot of dynamic names that brought the people out.
And if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong, but Joe Biden, he received about 62% or somewhere over 60% of the Democratic votes or the black votes in during that time. I mean, people got out. We always see there more people, a better turnout for folk during the presidential election. But what we got to also understand is, even though this is the presidential election this year, that our vote counts all the time. So we always got to be energized, inspired, and be willing to vote when it's necessary, because it doesn't always happen every 2 years. Sometimes they have special elections. Mm-hmm. But let's get back on track here. Now, tell us, what is the one thing you want to accomplish during your term as chairman of the Democratic Party? What are some of the things, let me just say, what are some of the things you'd like to accomplish for Greenwood County?
Yeah, absolutely. From the Democratic Party perspective, I'd like to implement certain processes and practices that live well beyond me. Right? I want to institute some procedures. I want to make more use of social media. I want to make more use of the technology. We have tools at our disposal that we're just starting to tap into now. Mm-hmm. Let's take, for example, you want to do mailings, right? And you've got limited funds. You can't send mail to every person in Greenwood County, just too many. So you want to target where you think it could be the most effective. Mm-hmm. You don't want to win over those you know you already won. You want to win over those who are undecided or may not yet be informed or have not been inspired to get out. Those are the kind of things that we want to target and focus on, and I want to leave those practices behind, well beyond my tenure as chair.
Yeah. And Bill, we have about 42,000 registered, a little over 42,000 registered voters in Greenwood County, and probably about, what number, I know you know this, I assume. What's the number of Democratic voters out of the 42,000?
Oh, you know what? That is actually impossible to tell, right? So the way South Carolina works is that you don't register by party.
Right.
So you can only take a best guess as to who turns out in a primary, and even then it's a small sample. So you really can't tell who, but I'll tell you just from talking to people, there's a lot more out there.
Yeah, right.
You may think you're alone. I tell you, you are not. Black, white, Asian, old, young, student, professional, retired, every walk of life. You take a look at our party, Michael. It is a true cross-section of what our county is. All faiths, all walks of life, all beliefs, all statutes. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. And you just don't see that diversity elsewhere. So we say that there's strength in diversity because we come at this from a diverse points of view. We hash things out. As chair, my role is to serve, not necessarily to lead. It's to serve. It's to take the advice of the elders who have been around much longer than I have. Take the advice of those who have been educated different ways than I have, and absorb it all in and turn it into something that is actionable. And that's where I think that I serve a role in the party.
Right, great, well put. Hey, I know we have some time, but I want to get to this because I want you to talk about it more than once while we're on air. What are some of the things that are coming up that people need to be get excited about?
Well, the first thing everybody needs to know and put on their calendars, mark the date of October 2nd. Friday, October 2nd is the deadline to register to vote. Now, if you've already voted in the June primaries or in the February presidential primaries, you should be good, you're all set. But if it's been a while since you voted, or if you've had a change of address, or if you've had a change of name, you got married, or if you are an ex-felon who served your time, did your parole, did your probation, you are entitled to vote, re-register. You have less than 2 weeks, Friday, October 2nd is that day,
Right.
and if you haven't registered by that point, then you can't participate in the process. And if you've got young folk, you turn 18 by November 3rd, right? You got a birthday coming up in the next month, you can vote, get registered. We want all the bodies out there. One thing I made my kids do, I've got 2 grown kids, one who's 21, one who's 23. I made them take a picture of the voter registration card and send it to me. You know,
Okay.
Dad's going to make sure his kids are going to vote, and I want you to make sure the same thing with your kids, your grandkids, your brothers, your uncles, your sisters, your aunts. Everybody needs to be participating.
Right, right. And I know there are some other things that's coming.
Well, continuing on the voting side of things, and I would like to talk about some party activities coming up. Starting on Monday, October 5th, you can start voting in-person absentee. So I'm going to take a second to talk about absentee voting. There's a lot of things that are changing every week in South Carolina. The rules seem to be changing every week almost. So let's talk about absentee voting. Who can vote absentee? The answer is easy this year. Everybody. You, me, Brother Bill here, everybody in your households, we can all vote absentee. They have removed that excuse rule, so we are in a state of emergency. Everybody can vote absentee, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. There are 2 types of absentee voting. One's by mail. So if you do it by mail, you have to fill out an application that you can download online at scvotes.gov. You got to fill out the application, send it in, then they send you a ballot starting the first week of October or so. Then you got to mail that ballot back. Now, a couple things about that mail-in ballot. One, no witness signature is needed. It's always been an odd rule. You have to have somebody watch you sign, and then that person has to sign that they watched you sign. You know what? We're grown-ups. We're Americans. We're adults. Let's go ahead and vote. That requirement is gone. Secondly, for the first time ever, postage is prepaid. You don't have to worry about finding stamps or how many stamps. I need 2 stamps, 3 stamps, 5 stamps. It's already prepaid postage. You fill out that ballot, you mail it in, it's taken care of.
Right.
But you need to make sure you allow yourself time. This is not something you want to be thinking about come October 30th. You just run out of time if you're going to do it by mail.
Right.
And then finally, by mail, there is a drop box, a secure drop box that's sitting right outside the elections office.
Right.
You can't use it. You can't use it this year. The Republican-led legislature in Columbia just last week said, nope, we don't trust those drop boxes. You must turn in your ballots in person. So you either do it by mail, or you have to go to the office and hand it in person. But that drop box that's outside the office will be secured. You won't be able to put anything in it. It just seems odd. We've used it in the past,
Right.
but for some reason now it's no good.
And ladies and gentlemen, don't get discouraged by that. Fill out your ballots, do it early, and let's get those votes in. Do not procrastinate. That is how important this is. Go ahead, Brother Bill. Brother Bill and Bill have too many bills in the house.
Well, there's another type of absentee, and it's called in-person absentee. So that means you can show up at the elections office on Monument Street in Uptown Greenwood, and you can just walk right in, fill out the form. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes to fill it out, and then they walk you over to the election or to the voting booth. You can cast your ballot. As long as you're during office hours, Monday through Friday, you can do this. Now, the nice thing is that they are now looking at a second location to do in-person absentee balloting. This was in the paper last week. They haven't determined exactly where yet, but it will be most likely somewhere else in the city of Greenwood. But having 2 locations is good. Now, this is the messed up thing. 3 weeks ago, if you were to go to the South Carolina Election Commission's website, in-person absentee balloting was scheduled for September 28th. They added an extra week to allow for, the pandemic, spread people out, and make it safer. Last week, the Republican-led South Carolina legislature in Columbia said, nope, we're going to cancel that, and they put it back to October 5th. So they took a week away from us, which was good 3 weeks ago. Now it's not for some reason. All right, so hey, you know what? There's nothing we can do about that. It's whoever's in charge gets to make the rules.
Right.
So it's incumbent upon us to let's change who's in charge.
That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why it's so important to vote. because of the fact that if you want to see change, if you think these changes that I would say preventing you the opportunity to vote without any repercussions, without any headaches to make it easier for you to vote, if you think it's wrong to say you cannot use this mailbox, or we know that there's a pandemic and there's the take away an extra week, then how you change that and put people in office that's going to support you, that's going to stand up for you, that's going to listen to you, because that's how we make change, is by voting. And let's talk locally.
All right.
I'm going to say Brother Bill again. Bill, let's talk locally. What are some of the exciting things that's coming up here locally?
Yeah, you know, in the Democratic Party, we're very alive, very active. Membership continues to grow. As we see on social media, you know, hundreds of people added to our mailing list, hundreds following us on Twitter, on Facebook, and we encourage you to do so. If you want to stay up to date on what's happening, please follow us online. Mm-hmm. We have in, less than 10 days, on October 1st, that's Thursday, is our annual fundraising event. It's just the Carnell Drummond Mays Dinner, named after three legends here in Greenwood
County. Let's talk a little bit about those three, if you will,
yeah.
Bill. Tell us a little about those three gentlemen
well, you've got Representative Marion Carnell, Senator John Drummond. They were local representatives that served here representing Greenwood County. And then, of course, this year we've added the name of Dr. Benjamin E. Mays. And let me tell you, this is a guy that I've come to appreciate a lot. I read a biography about him last month, and there's just so much about his style, who he was. He was an intellectual among intellectuals. He was learned. He was a scholar. He also felt that the church should have an active role in desegregation. You know, that it should not have been just to comfort you in times of trouble, but it should be an agent of social change. Mm-hmm. And he was literally the father of the desegregation movement in the 50s and 60s. And, you know, I think we all know that he personally mentored Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and many others. Mm-hmm. And this is just a man whose life parallels many of the scientists that I grew up, respecting and having a little bit of hero worship as a kid. And I just add Dr. Benjamin E. Mays to that list. And so we're going to have a tribute to him. So normally this is an event that is in person, and it's a fancy suit and tie, and it's a gala that you hold. Right. We're not going to do that this year. Obviously, it's not safe to do so. So we're going to be doing it virtually. The way this will work is if you purchase or donate for a ticket, and you can do so online or give us a call, you would pick up the food provided by Tony's Salad Bowl over in the Ollie's Plaza. So from 4 to 6, if you have a ticket, you can pick up a meal, take it home with you, settle in, turn the computer on, fire it up, and then we'll be streaming our broadcast starting at 7 p.m. So we've got 2 hours of speeches, of surprises, a prize giveaway. We've got $600 worth of prizes donated that we're going to be giving away through raffles through this event. And I'm telling you, I'm making this, not just me, but we've got a team of dedicated people going to make this an entertaining and informative 2 hours. This 2 hours are just going to fly by.
So can you tell us some of the speakers, if you want, can you give away some of the speakers that we can be expecting to hear?
Well, we've got a good number of local candidates who are running that get a chance, 5-6 minutes to address the audience and give their campaign speech as if they were live in front of everybody. So you have City Councilman Matthew Miller, Senator Floyd Nicholson, House Rep candidate Denise Waldrop, Senate candidate Jose Villa, Ms. Ann Parks, and then we're also going to have our state party chair, Trav Robertson. He's going to speak for a bit, let us know what's happening on the state level, and our keynote speaker is going to be Jamie Harrison. Okay. So he's going to wrap things up and send us out in good spirits. But we also have what's called the Yellow Dog Democrat Award. We'll be announcing the winner of that. That's our Democrat of the Year award, so to speak. We've got tributes to those who have passed away in the past year. We want to honor them. Of course, you're going to hear me. I'm going to give a little summary about what's been happening in the party for the past year or so. So we would love for everybody to purchase a ticket. You can visit us on our website, gwdcountydems.org, and we have an online form there, or a phone number you can call. You can see that on the website. A phone call can order some tickets as well.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And ladies and gentlemen, you want to be part of this. This is an opportunity to hear about or hear what the people who are running for office is saying that they are going to do when or if they get elected. I talked about last week that one of the ways you can determine whether or not somebody is doing what they're supposed to do is you have to hear what they are saying that they are going to do if they are elected. And then you get to look and you get to see whether or not that person did or did not do. Bill, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, besides just a fundraiser, we're heading into our very busy period. So we have a voter's guide, a trifold voter's guide with information about the candidates, information about the election dates, and all the things that I'm talking about here today that we want to distribute throughout the county.
Right.
We've got thousands of these. We've started giving them out, but what we could use are some foot soldiers. Now, we don't want to go knocking on doors. Not this year. We don't want to be engaging in the public and inadvertently spreading COVID around. But we do have door hangers that we want to leave these guides at, and we want to target certain areas in our county to help get out the vote. And if you have the opportunity or a couple hours on the weekend to spare, we've got turfs cut out, we've got maps, we've got the guides, we've got instructions. And if you could throw your body into the fight, man, we could certainly use it. If you want yard signs, we've got them. We've got Jamie Harrison signs. We've got Biden-Harris signs. We've got some others. We've got Hosea Cleveland signs. And Hosea is another speaker who's running for Congress.
Right.
He will be speaking at our event as well. Let us know if you want some signs. We can get them out to you. We've got opportunities for phone banking. If you've got a couple hours to spend, not even a couple hours, just 1 hour on a Saturday or on a Thursday, we can put you live on the phone bank. You can help make some calls. And personally, this is a plea out there. If you've got any type of graphic design skills, that's something that I have, but we could use more of that in our party to help create postcards, flyers, advertisements for the paper, etc. Could certainly put your creative energy to good use. That's my personal plea.
All right. And Bill, I'm so honored to have you here, and you've done a fantastic job. But I need you to do the county a big favor.
All right.
I want you to explain to our listeners, I'm quite sure we have over 100,000 listening today.
Oh my, now I'm nervous.
Why it's important for them to get involved in the process. Why it is important to join the Democratic Party of Greenwood County.
Yeah, there's two ways to answer that. One, you can do it from an angle of guilt, where you say, throughout history, people have died for your right to be able to participate in your government process. People have died in the 50s and 60s trying to register voters in the South, and those stories resonate with me. And I just find it, as the late, great Congressman John Lewis said, the right to vote is precious, almost sacred. And I truly believe that, and I think everybody should take that to heart. Even if your candidate doesn't win, the fact that you participate in that process is a sacred right. But at the other point is that you want to be informed as well. So being part of the Democratic Party here is not just being among people who are somewhat like-minded, not saying that we all think exactly the same thoughts or have the same opinions on every subject, but you're among very friendly, like-minded folk. But you can also become informed about what's going on in the world of politics. There are people making decisions that affect your life. People say, man, it's just politics. But I tell you what, Michael, is it just politics if it affects your ability to earn a fair wage?
Right.
Is it just politics if it affects your ability to get affordable health care? Is it just politics when your mother or brother or sister or father are being deported although you've served your country? Is it just politics when it affects your ability and your right to walk, to breathe, to just do the basic functions of being a human in America? Well, you know what? I can't think of anything more important than politics.
Right.
So this is why I tell you what, I'm not a politician, Michael. It was the events of 2016 that really just flummoxed me. And you know what? I've actually been a Republican in the past, and coming out of college and being a young adult, I kind of switched some viewpoints, and I've always voted, but I've never been politically active. But it's when 2016 hit and that election, you know, and Trump got elected, and I'll be honest with you, I thought, okay, my person didn't win, but, you know, and I know Trump ran a crazy campaign, but let's hope that the seriousness of the office would take hold and, you know, we'll be back to business as usual. Oh, boy, within 2 weeks I was wrong.
Right.
You know what inspired me? Do I have a minute to tell what inspired me to get involved?
Yeah.
All right. There was, within weeks of Trump becoming president, he instituted the Muslim travel ban. Just out of the blue. Says we're shutting down all travel in and out from these countries, all Muslim countries. And there was a Clemson student, a graduate student in data science, all right? So that already had a special point in my heart. And she just happened to be in Iran visiting her elderly grandmother. You know, it was a winter break. Next thing you know, this Clemson student was not allowed to come back to the U.S.
Right.
She had done no wrong. She had been in the United States for many years as a student, done everything she was supposed to do. And now her dog had no caretaker. You know, she could not come back for weeks as they tried to figure this out. It caused chaos throughout the world. That's when I decided to get involved. I remember sitting in bed reading these news stories, and I told my wife, so like, I can't sit in the sidelines. I'm not just going to be a Facebook warrior or a Twitter warrior. I've got to get involved in any way I can. And, you know, the very next day, I sat at a Democratic Party breakfast meeting. There was over, 150 in attendance there, you know, and I said, boy, I want to get involved. And now 4 years later, here's where I am.
Okay, well, great. And look, there's some more stories I hear that basically tells us why it's important or why we should get involved and why we should be motivated and dedicated and understand this sometimes it's just not about you. It's about us. It's about changing the world. I had a friend that wrote a song, and he said, you can change the world by simply changing you. And that makes so much sense to me. But ladies and gentlemen, before we leave, there's one thing I would like to say. And Bill, I'm going to ask you this. We lost a great one. I think it was Friday night. Yeah. The Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know anything about her, please look her up. Here's a lady who was short in stature, but what this lady stood for was justice. And she didn't care what form it came, just long as it was justice. And another thing I like to say about it, what I always read and what I appreciated, it was always not about her. It was always about us. And it almost makes you look at the word, just us. Just us. And we lost a great one. But what I want you to get in tune about is right now, President Trump is looking to replace her. And we're going to talk about that next week. But also next week, we're going to have Miss Denise Waldrop. She's running for District 13 state representative seat. She will be here in Bill's chair, and she will be telling us why she is running for office. I have also sent out an email asking Floyd Nicholson and also Representative Parks, and I'm going to call them. I'll send out an email, but I'm going to call them and ask them to come and express. And also I'm going to ask some of the opponents. I'm so sick and tired of people talking about, we're running for office, y'all, but we won't never have a debate. We just have forums. So let's hear what they have to say. They want our vote. They want our money. They want our time. But let's hear what they got to say. We know what the Democrats saying. Maybe some Republicans. Maybe you'll come on here and attempt to win these votes as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And I just want to say, nothing comes to sleepers but a dream. So let's wake up.
That was the fastest 30 minutes ever.